sound. I
Yeah.
guess, in the,
This is good now. Yeah. Keep going. Keep
Here,
going.
you want me to?
yeah.
Yeah, you can pan a little bit toward me a little bit more. Yeah, here's good now. Can you hear me well now?
Yeah, we're already rolling.
Very well.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Great.
Okay.
Shall we start?
Soundwork was founded in early 2000s, and it was founded of a need, of a situation where I used to live, or still living in New York, and having friends constantly coming and crashing at my place, and always asking me where to go. This was the main question in New York: where should I go? And I kind of thought at some point, it would be better if I do a tape. This is how we started. One walk took to another walk, and we started to spread out all over New York, from the Bronx to Williamsburg to Wall Street to Chinatown. Then from there we expanded to Europe, to China.
I got a call from him. He was in China. He said, "I need you in China in like a week." It was a beautiful project, and that's how I learned to actually do a sound walk. Not only sound-wise, but also understanding what happens in the making, the chemistry, the working with the team and the process.
Obviously, like you're doing in every neighborhood is different, every story is different. The one unifying sort of factor is this idea of immersion.
Because we're creating some kind of virtual reality in reality. This is the next level. This is actually you taking the journey. Interacting
with your environment.
It's like talking about cinema, where you're in a passive situation looking at a movie, and now we ask you to go into the screen and walk into the movie. We first think about the story, then after we think about the story, we try to find the best person to tell the story, and then when we have the best person to tell the story, we find the best backdrop for the story to unfold itself.
Our initial idea was for the overarching theme of this walk to be about technology and how we're shifting from a physical reality to a virtual reality or technological reality, an alternate reality of our own making.
And so, of course, then when technology came to the picture, we start to thought about who would be the best to talk about technology, not from just this point now, but from a larger range, from, let's say, from the 80s to up to now. We have two types of approach. We have the approach number one, we're working with, like I said, actors. And those guys, we worked a very detailed scripts. Then we have other characters, like John Barlow, who are actually so eloquent and so full of stories that to put him in a studio and to give him a script, word by word, will be killing the juice that he has.
Yeah, he's kind of uniquely positioned in the history of technology and also in the history of San Francisco, being a lyric writer for the Grateful Dead, where he's somebody who can really take us through all these layers of this city and its history and its different various movements over the past 40 years.
From the creation of the internet, let's say, and the cyberculture to what is happening right now. For a walk to work, for a movie soundwork format to work, we need a minimum requirement. And usually they are a good starting point with characters. Maybe a bookstore, music store, and different places where we can get in and out and have interaction. And maybe a staircase, a roof, alleyway, places where we can have basically a good setting for people to get lost.
I came a few days earlier just to do some scouting in the mission.
From all our research, we said this is the most walkable part of the city, and that there's a lot of place where we do interaction.
The first thing that I found difficult instantly, the geographical structure was very block by block, which is fine. You kind of find it in other places also, but then the difficulty to get into places. In every city, there's always a nook, a door that you can push, something that you can get into.
And then so you end up to walk block, and then you just start to walk straight. And I said, where are you turning? Where are you entering? Which part are you pushing in? Where are you getting lost? Because if I make you walk 10 blocks straight on one alley that is happening, then it's no more walk, it's a straight line. I need to have this wandering, this kind of maze, where we're losing ourselves.
From Mission to the Hague, to Lower Hague, downtown, Dogpatch, Bayview, Bernal Heights. And the guys came up to Chinatown.
We line up everything and then
North Beach.
exhausting ourselves, walking, and then it's a fact this is not working.
Each day we had this cycle where we just getting really excited throughout the day and coming to the end of the day completely quiet.
If the city was not a place for the walk to what happened, then maybe nature could be a place for the walk. And we were certain, I was absolutely certain this was the genius idea of the year. I thought I had it. And then we started to walk, and this is where everything started to fall apart.
We turned from a walk into a hike, basically.
And to a hike. And
Every direction we would take would be extremely gorgeous and beautiful. Really nice backdrop for our concept of walking and discussing these themes, but really extremely dedicated only for people who actually are hikers.
Hikers, and so it's not going to work for our classic audience. Obviously, this is not going to work, but it was too late. We're already deep into the mountain.
We knew exactly where to go because the only sort of viable outline of a walk that we had that we knew could work was in the Tenderloin. So we immediately drove to the Tenderloin.
The story of to go back to Tenderloin, maybe since we're there back now in it, will be a story of John life also that unfold a lot itself into the Tenderloin, where he meets Steve Jobs, his love of his life.
He has so many cues. Like walking in the Tenderloin a few days ago, I would just walk down a block just to get a feeling of the neighborhood with him, and every second thing that he would see, he would be having a story behind it. And he would, because of the nature of his character and his interest and his passion and his history, then he would naturally tie into the story that we discussed with him.
The Tenderloin will be a very interesting experience because I think there's a level of fear and rejection towards people on the street and all of it. There's a sense of a bit of fear and not know how to behave with them. There will be a very good discussion about back and forth, the great high and the great low.
Exactly.
all meeting each other into those streets.
Gold rush would be a great seg to the modern gold rush technology.
It will not fit at all the amount of meters we have.
What we're dealing with is a map at the beginning, and then we have a little marker and we put a little dot. And at the end of the day, we need to have all those dots functioning together. In this book that you put on site for us.
This is just from that collection of, early printed materials.
Down to the top. Look at it'll on the left, on the very left.
It's wherever you want it in there.
I would say it'll be on the left, on the very left. I like that we're keeping everything vis-a-vis in the context of the internet and technology.
Exactly.
So Starbucks, Amazon, whatever.
We're preparing basically topics. We're doing more synopsis approach. For every blogs, every places, we're creating theme that we talked already before.
The mood, the attitude is completely different.
From there, we will have John interact with this idea, and I think we will stay in this idea and trying to venture in this concept. What I like to do is to find a thing on a walk that trigger the theme, but then the theme can just go on its own journey.
It's more like associative. Like the thematic links are more associative than literal, or it's on a straight line.
This is a bit more risky because there's less control, but then there's more quality of the immediacy you can get out of it. It's more complex. When this is done, then we send the diplomatic Italian to negotiate with each places, because they're going to have people walking in the places with headphones. They're going to have 10 of them, 20, and maybe if we're successful, 1,000 of them a day. No, maybe it will never happen, but Here, we're dealing with a lot of uncontrolled elements that will happen all the time while we're walking. So it's a very challenging situation. But I think we think this is the only way to do it, to be honest. The quality of this is also a beautiful blueprint for the future of Soundwalk for whoever will do it. is actually not putting yourself alone in your room to record it, but be able to record on site and physically walking and recording yourself. You know, that suddenly you listen to something for 10 minutes on a corner and you just feel like it's not natural to be for 10 minutes on a corner listening to something. So, you know, when you're recording a narrator, nobody will sit for 10 minutes on a corner and talk about something. So it will also naturally kind of allow its editing. You know, it will edit down naturally the physicality of the narrator doing it itself.
We've had several discussions with him where we've introducing the themes that we want to talk about, and we've had incredible discussions where basically he's very well aware of what we want to explore.
We give him a series of printed directions, and we'll try to control his behavior as best. Basically, we'll interfere at a certain time by giving the direction which he will read and the theme, and then we start the take and we start walking and he goes freestyle.
Watch the page 153.
Depiction of the Golden Gate in here is completely fictitious. Okay, be very careful with it. It was bound in 1855.
In the work, you will see also you're entering in a private salon of someone, which is really interesting because you're not getting into a store anymore. And I think this is also something I'm very interested in, is eventually to be able to utilize the city in such a way that we're entering in people's home. I would love to create a situation where we can allow people to go in his house and just sit next to him and just actually listening to him writing. What we try to do with those new working format, is to also bring to the next level the concept of actually being interactive with the environment. And I think one of the best ways to be interactive is to ask people to do tasks. One is magazine, which is this kind of classic, tenderloin, cultish destination where people go to find really rare magazine or really kind of twisted magazine that, you know, is not on the market anymore. But basically what you're doing is that you have a chance to see a very rare piece of Life magazine, you know, in an amazing store, and having this interaction of basically having someone showing you, you know, a really beautiful old magazine. The other extreme opposite to it is Open-Handed. Great foundation that is the biggest American free cooking service, basically bringing hot meal for people suffering from HIV or AIDS or cancer. So every place I will take John Barlow, I take a John. Remind yourself that I'm blind and I'm asking you to describe every step of the way what you're doing. And this is what the recording session should be. First, we put the voice totally dry just to see content-wise. Then we lay down the sound effect and the recording of the street. So this is seemed to be not so important, and is really actually important. What we do is a full phase of a week, basically, of editing really well the story and the walking experience with the direction and with the flow of the sentence and getting into the store and out of the store. And this usually takes a week of fine-tuning.
Yeah, no, but not if it's like just like noise that the compressor pulled out. Background noise.
Basic fixes, but the entrance, because
all the entrances are actually they need to be fixed. Yeah, I think.
I think this is one of the most difficult part of the post-editing situation, is to have everything flowing in such a way that, you know, is like the same thing as when I'm talking to you right now. You see that, you know, everything seems to be naturally coming. So what we do, we list all the sound we want to collect from all the block, and those sounds will create a texture behind the voice. So voice first, then after the voice we lay down all the sound, basically specificity of every block in terms of sound. Then we have another layers, which is field recording in a more ambient way. So we just record the walk just the way it is. So we just record all the field recording of the street. And then come the music. And the music is the last thing we do. The music is when everything worked perfectly well together, then we start to tailor a music composition that is just perfectly composed for the narration.
Nice.
The final stage of the mixing is also taking quite some time because we're listening to what we're doing in the street. And for example, one street might have a lot of traffic. So there, for example, you will kill all the, let's say, pre-recorded ambience of the street, or the, and then you will treat the music and the voice in such a way that the voice will be really up there, strong, because there's a fear, there's a risk of losing the voice because of the traffic, and then you go to another street and so it's very quiet, or you go in interiors, galleries or library, and then it's super quiet. And then again, everything has to be mixed in a different way. Then you need a lot of room tone of the place, opposite on the street, to create a sense of volume. And then you can also mix the music and the voice can lower down itself because you don't have to compete with, for example, traffic, in the street. We're not offering just good tips and good place to hang out for parties and drinking, which is fine, I don't have a problem with that, but what we're doing here, we're talking about the story that lay behind the obvious, One of the key of these works we've been putting together here is to actually reinforce, which I've done in the past some work, but to make it even more part of the experience, to really get into places and taking books, asking things, opening stuff, entering into places where you really put on your place not in a voyeur point of view, but you're actually really part of the operation. It also shows you actually how much of an initial idea can be reframed with the location that you're deciding to choose. So I think the key is to always show great flexibility, never being too stubborn about whatever ideas you have or whatever great script you have, because at the end of the day, it's a pretty fairly good chance that your script will be heavily modified by the landscape you're going to decide to work in. And you never know what is good or not good. I think the only thing that maybe is a reference point to see if it's good what you're doing is then if at the end of the work, you feel empathy, love, compassion, or any kind of those emotions that range, for the people and the neighborhood you walked in. And I think that's what we're trying to achieve here, is to be in someone's shoes, in someone's mind, and whether you like him or not, he has something to say, and you have to listen to it. And if this person has a gift to tell a good story and to convey, emotion and make point about what you think, and whether they're relevant or not for you, as long as they have an impact in you, I think this is what we're looking for. One of the main reasons we're waking up in the morning and we're doing shit is because we care somehow. And so I think if we can convey this idea to wherever we're going, and we can have this sharing happening, even for a minute or two, it's enough.